Well, I can scratch off another amazing place I would want to go to. First space and now Mount Everest. Thanks a lot, movie. Everest stars Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, Keira Knightley, Emily Watson, and Jake Gyllenhaal, and is basically a movie about the 1996 Everest trek that turned out to be an utter disaster. Basically, these two groups that are trying to work together to conquer Mount Everest, and it just turns into a total disaster. And if you know the true story, you know what happens. I don't know that much, like, personally about the events. I just know several people died, so I don't know how completely accurate this movie is to the actual events. But I gotta say, from what I saw, I was very impressed. This is a very, very well-made movie. Just gonna go into that right now. I think its strengths are more in the look of the film. Like, the cinematography is amazing, especially if you see this in 3D and IMAX. Like, that, I saw it in 3D, and I can't imagine seeing this thing in IMAX 3D, because there are many points in this movie that will just make you go, wow, this is beautiful, and then there are other parts that will give you vertigo. Like, oh god, this is so disorienting, I can't, this is so chaotic. And not only is it chaotic, but it's also very intense. There are many moments in the movie that will leave you on the edge of your seat. They're often nail-biting, and it is just a very intense movie, and a lot of the actors in this movie give great performances. As I mentioned, we have Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, Jake Gyllenhaal, Emily Watson, and Keira Knightley. All of them are really great and really showcase a lot of emotion, especially during some of the big, intense scenes near the end. And not just intense like it's thrilling intense, but intense as in like it's really emotionally powerful. So props to the actors for pulling it off perfectly. But the movie does have some issues, I feel. Going right back into the actors, one of the big problems I had with this movie is that there are so many characters that it was really hard to connect with all of them. Like Jake Gyllenhaal, he was good in the movie, but I didn't really know much about his character to really care. I didn't get to know him that well. There are only four characters that I really cared about, and that was Jason Clarke and Keira Knightley, because they're both husband and wife. I really cared about what was going on with those two. I cared about what was going on with Josh Brolin. And then there's a hiker that gets some character development who's not played by a well-known actor, but that was someone else that I really cared for. Everyone else sadly felt disposable. Like, I mean, don't want to be harsh, because it's what they are playing actual people who climbed Mount Everest, but it just, I really didn't really care. It's like some people died, and I was like, I wish I knew more about him. I did have some sort of problem with the first 30 minutes. This is kind of a nitpick, but the first 30 minutes of this movie feels very much like a tutorial on how to climb Mount Everest. It's basically an instruction video, like the safety procedures you have to do, and how to survive Mount Everest. And I can understand why that's in the movie, because it plays an important part, and we get to see how these characters claim Mount Everest, or climb it, not claim it. I felt like that first 30 minutes could have been done a little better, so it felt like more of a movie and not an instructional video. And then there's one thing that I could say is a major complaint. There is a part near the end of the movie that was so mishandled that I wanted to shout out, bullshit! I'm not going to say what it was, but I'll say this. It involves a hiker, it involves a storm, and it is one of those key examples of show, don't tell. Like, that's something I hate in movies, is when the characters have to explain something rather than just show us that thing. So I won't say anything more than that, and if you somehow consider that a spoiler, then I apologize. But in the end, Everest, I think it definitely is a very well made movie. The actors do a great job. It's intense. It's beautiful to look at, especially in 3D. But there are some parts that are rushed. There are too many characters to really follow or care about. And it does get a little sloppy in terms of scene transitions. But overall, I'd say it's a good movie. Just not a great movie. If you're going to see this movie, though, in the theater, you gotta see it in 3D because there are many parts in this movie where the 3D really escalates things to an intense level. And that's my review for Everest. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. And this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.